Hey, Guy and Roseanne here. Welcome back to Amore Van. Today, Terry Minix answers your questions about the Cape Cod. Okay, welcome back. Back in June, Terry was nice enough to invite us to do a video of the new Embassy Cape Cod Class B when the big reveal happened at the customer meetup at Evie Pines Campground. And at that time, when we posted that video, I invited all of you to send in any questions you might have about the Cape Cod, and I promised I would send those questions along to Terry. And I have kept that promise and sent them to Terry. And now we're going to go through those today, and Terry's going to bring us up to date on the answers to those questions and anything else of interest that might be happening with the Cape Cod. Terry, how you doing?
Great, great. It's a beautiful day. We're having beautiful weather. We're excited about all of our products. We're, evolving everything that we do always, as you know, and you've seen some of those today. So the Cape Cod is really coming along. It's getting great interest from all the videos and stuff that are out there. So we're excited, and this is. I've had the vans all my life. I've started this stuff when I was 22 years old, and I'm 65 now. It's so refreshing for me to see this new product too that has all this space and everything that it can do for folks that want to travel, maybe full time and that kind of stuff. So it'll be a lot of fun.
So if you've come across this video and you haven't seen the other video, the full-blown tour that we did of the Cape Cod, I'll put a link to that video in the description to this video. So you might want to go look at that one first and then come back and watch this one if you haven't already. But with that said, and we're sitting in the demo unit, the first unit that was built, but I was just inside the factory, and it looks like the first production units to customers are just about finished, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's unique. I have to be careful, but the first one off the production line is quite unique.
Terry's referring to the color. It's
referring to color.
But I thought it was pretty cool. So if that's if you're watching this and that's yours, whatever you like is what's important. But I thought it was pretty cool color. But in the next few weeks, people are going to start receiving their Cape Cods, right?
Yes, we have the second unit off at the paint shop right now. That exterior color is going to be the white pearl Ford color that you see on the pickup truck, and the bronze Ford color. So we are using Ford colors for the exterior. The one that's unique snuck away from that a little bit, but as a rule, it's Ford colors. We're going to have a few colors to choose from. We're not going to use all Ford colors, but Brandon's working on the color palette to give the standard color choices that folks will have.
All right. So with all of that, let's go through some of these questions that our viewers had when they saw your video. Let me first say that the reaction to the video, the overwhelming comments were people talking about how beautiful it was, how excited they were about it. But people did have some questions, and so let's go through there. So a number of people asked about the cargo carrying capacity. So how much stuff can we put in this vehicle?
So this has the same GVWR that your van has. It's 11,000 GVWR. We are 9,500 out the door, which means there is 1,500 pounds of cargo carrying capacity in this, which is really quite high for this industry on a transit cutaway. I don't know of anyone that's going to have that much cargo carrying capacity, and it's because of our composites and our attention to weight throughout this whole vehicle, from cabinetry to doors. In your van we use marine plastic as our door material. In the van we have plenty of weight doing that.
Yeah.
In this bigger vehicle we had to use air impregnated yacht composite. Technically it's what they build their cabinets in a yacht out of, so they don't have wood. And we followed suit with that in here, and that's how we save some weight
in order to keep it lighter. So 1,500 pounds, and figure a couple occupants and some water, or you can still get about 1,000 pounds worth of stuff after that.
And there's plenty of storage, so I still don't think if the average couple, even full time, will put 1,000 pounds in this. I mean, it's probably uh, maybe Frank and Sharon West are the exception to that. Still, I don't know. They still hold the record, everybody, on a van.
For those of you who don't know, those are some great embassy van owners who showed up to pick up their van a couple years ago, and it looked like they brought with them most of the contents of their house. So we teased them about it, but it fit.
It fit. They didn't have anything in the aisle, and it even amazed me. So bless their hearts. We have so much fun with everybody. That it's the best family of customers you'd ever want to meet.
And if you're new to RVing, that cargo carrying capacity is something to pay attention to, because there are a lot of manufacturers out there who will talk till they're blue in the face about how much room there is for storage in their vehicle. And then when you drill down, you find that, there's plenty of room, but there's no weight capacity, because they've built their vehicle so heavy that if you fill it, you're overweight. And of course, it's dangerous to be overweight. And so 1,500 pounds of cargo carrying capacity, that's really quite a bit. And I dare say, if you compare that to other vehicles this size, you'll see that this does quite well.
Do you remember the Project Bear Cub that we did?
Yes.
That was somebody else that built a vehicle that we wanted to show those kind of things, and we rebuilt it. When it came to us, it had 250 pounds of carrying capacity without water. And she had to go there empty everything because she had to get it inspected in Colorado, and she couldn't put even water in it or she would have failed the inspection. And it was a van, and that was from a professional company out east. So we've seen it firsthand and got to deal with it, and saw that they didn't pay attention to any details. FMVSS, RVIA, it's something I would like to share a little bit, that even though they're a professional builder, you have to pay attention to FMVSS, which is Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards, and RVIA, Ford QVM, Ford Pro Upfitter. All these identities that we're members of and high standing of preach and teach FMVSS. Technically, you're following the rules of the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards to make sure you're putting a safe vehicle on the road. Some of these smaller companies may not be as versed or may not care as much, I'll just say, to pay attention to those standards, and we live and breathe it. I mean, we have engineers in full time, and that's where we start, is okay, here's the rules. How do you build a vehicle that just gives the customer more than what they're expecting?
And we certainly appreciate it in our van. The next question is similar, which is the towing capacity. Of course, there's a hitch, right? Towing hitch here, and so now we're dealing with the combined weight rating. So how much can we tow?
The combined is 15,000, which is a little puzzling because the van's 13,000. They're the same engine, same overall setup, but because this has a 178-inch wheelbase and the van is a 148, that extra wheelbase and the suspension they put on the cutaway in the back gives us 15,000 GCWR, which is combined weight rating of this loaded and the trailer that you would be pulling. So you technically have, when it leaves here, 5,500 pounds of towing capacity. That's pretty incredible also. Now, the more weight you put in here, the less you
have to subtract.
And that's how that works.
Okay. So a number of people asked a question, and you and I have had a chance to chat about this a little bit off camera. A number of people, maybe Roseanne, you can show. In case you're wondering where Roseanne is holding the camera. That's why you're not seeing her. About the over cab storage and whether or not that is going to make it difficult for people who want to move back and forth between the cab and the living area. So you've got news on that. Right?
We do. When we see, and a lot of our folks had the same comments. It wasn't just customers on that. So we are working on a transition for that. When we create something, a lot of times we have to build a mold. We have to have the mold kind of tested before we build the production mold. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but we are working on that transition to open that up about 4 inches on that pass through to just make it easier to get in and out of the swivel front seats and see the TV and things. So that is something that is coming, and it'll be available to the first few folks to get off the line before we get it rolling.
So is that going to be, Roseanne, if you could just show it again, is that going to be like like an arch cut
Well,
in
what we
here?
have to do, there's airbags and stuff and things happening on the sides.
Uh-huh.
So it's going to come out a little bit and angle up and then go straight over,
So
angle
up in
down
here,
and over
right.
again to give the most we can get in the top and for each seat to have the most clearance also. So it won't be an arch.
Okay. So if a customer, a potential customer, is watching this video today, if they were to place an order today, by the time their rig is ready, this will be different, right?
Those things move along as fast as we can move them.
Right.
We just have to say, you know that Embassy doesn't like leaving anyone behind, and we're constantly upgrading and doing things. Most of our service, honestly, is upgrades and working on things that we've developed later, and later sometimes is 2 or 3 months later. I mean, we're not like most companies where we wait a year to make changes. We're always working on things and trying to improve.
All right. Next question. Again, this came from quite a few people. Given that this is a bigger rig than the vans, will they have the ability to add roof solar at some point?
So what we're doing right now is a solar prep, which means we have a scuffer designed from the solar industry to put on the roof, and the first one in line has that on it, where solar panels can be added to the roof, and the pass-through is already figured into the vehicle. So eventually we'll have more, because we never put solar on a van because it didn't make sense on a van. These are insulated dual pane glass windows, a 6-inch composite roof, 2.5-inch composite floor, and 1.5-inch composite walls. I can control heat better. We're sitting in the sun right now and the air conditioner's running, and it's no big deal. So this gives us the capability to sit in the sun and gather the solar on a huge roof, which is going to be pretty incredible. And those are things, again, that we will evolve into and we're working on. It'll just take some time before we can say. But if you wanted to do it and we will have a pass-through on the roof that you can do it with.
Okay. Next question that came from several people has to do with floor plans. So currently, the one we're sitting in is the one available floor plan, right?
Right.
But down the road, do you see the possibility that there'll be additional floor plans offered in this vehicle?
We do see the need for that. It's not going to be this year. I can assure you that. We've got the production line rolling now. We got everything getting nice and into gear with that. So it'll be something we will evaluate next year and work into our engineering. And it's really going to come a little bit from the customer base too, as you know. We did involve customers in the designing of this vehicle. It wasn't just Embassy. So we got a lot of good feedback from folks that are in our vans and potential Cape Cod customers to know what was really, really important to them. And that's where this one got developed from.
And as part of that question that we've gotten from a number of people about floor plans, there are people with a particular concern about whether any of those future floor plans will accommodate a forward-facing seat so that a child seat could be accommodated.
Well, technically, all of our B-Van RVs and the B Plus, the passenger front seat is approved for child seat from Ford. It's got the tether in the back and the markings. It is a child approved seat for car seat for a child. The adult would sit back here. The child would sit in the passenger seat. On Ford, like you're saying back here, that will be. There's a lot of testing in that, and just know that we are aware of that. And those are things we're working on that we'll be able to release at some point.
Okay. This one I think you and I may have spoken about, not on camera, but at the meetup, because I seem to recall you mentioning it. But which is, are there any plans for the seats that we're sitting in now at some point to be offered as maybe a reclining kind of lounge seat rather than a flat sofa?
I do get myself in trouble once in a while of talking a little too soon. Just know that we have weekly meetings with our partners, our engineering, our production managers, our purchasing, sales, everything weekly, and we discuss all these things. What we would like to do is once it's tested and we've got it signed off and everybody has agreed to something, we will be the first to let you know, to put it on your video and release it to everybody. So
Right.
that's how I'd like to say that we are listening,
Uh-huh.
we're paying attention, and when we have something that's exciting and new, you'll see some new videos.
Excellent. Next question we received has to do with the rear beds. What is the plan, if there is one, for being able to convert the rear twin beds into a single large bed?
What we're doing right now, Brandon has some cushions coming in where there's a third cushion that goes to this bed. It's sitting back there right now. We're splitting it in half and making a store in the center of those two beds right now, which will flush that out. So that's step one. And that's a great place to store that, so it's not taking up storage, and at the same time it makes a U shape out of that area, which is a beautiful dinette kind of setup if you want to do that. But a tall guy can actually sleep across the 7-foot way instead of the 6'6" direction. So it's going to actually add a lot of new things. Eventually we'll have some other things that we're developing into that with, supports like we do on our SL model and things that, adding another simple cushion may make that into a king size bed. So again, we are listening, we're hearing everybody, and as whenever engineering gets to the point where those parts are on our shelf ready to go, then we'll release, that we have different things available.
Okay. And of course, everybody always wants to know about price, and we know, of course, that depending on when you order, you might be into a different model year on the chassis. So you're at the mercy of what Ford charges for the chassis. But price range of the ones rolling off the line now, which is about probably the only thing you can be accurate about.
We are right now with the 2024 chassis that we have in stock, and up to this point, we've had to buy a year's worth of chassis all at once to keep enough chassis to supply them to customers. So we have stock. It is $198,850 with this loaded vehicle right now.
Okay, so that's all in.
2024. It was less for 2023s, but those are all spoken for now.
And that's all in except for whatever sales tax the customer might owe in their state.
Yes,
right?
that is just the base price.
Right.
But in the base price on this, it's pretty loaded. We have a lot of things that are in that price.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about all those things, of course, on the tour, including a great big 920 amp hour lithium system, right? Which is the same that we have in our van, which lasts us for days.
It actually has a larger inverter though.
Uh-huh.
So we are a 3,500 watt inverter, not a 3,000, with a 7,000 peak, not a 6,000, because in the van we only have a standard microwave. In this B Plus in a Cape Cod, we have a convection microwave, so it does draw a little more power. So we did put a bigger inverter in this, but it does have the same 920 amp hour battery system that the vans have.
All right. Next question is time to delivery. So if I were to order one of these today, when am I receiving it?
That's getting better. The production's rolling good now, so I believe we're telling folks right now that we are in the January, February build time frame right now. I think we're out to the end of the year. We've got a few folks that have deposits with us, but they're still running their business. They're not quite ready yet, so it's freed up to where it's moved forward a little bit on the build schedule. That's about where we are right now.
All right, so that's about 6 months or so, and then I guess if we get into the new chassis model year, that'll start to impact that, right?
We never know what that is till we actually
right.
And actually when we order, we don't really know. They give us a tentative price. Sometimes when they show up, it's another price. So we don't release the new model year till we actually get the new model year, because we've seen differences in that.
But maybe returning to the chassis, do you still have 2024 chassis that are
here on grounds, and we know it's that price?
But I mean unspoken for.
Yes, we ordered quite a few.
Yeah, so there's So if someone orders now, there is a chassis available.
Yes.
They won't be waiting for next year's
And
chassis.
if we build it in January, we title it as a 25.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not going to be any changes between 24
Right.
and 25. They made a lot of changes in 22 to 24, but the 25s will be, other than price, will be the same options that are in the 24. So yeah, we do have. I'm not sure the number right now, but we can cover, quite a few customers still with chassis that we pre-ordered.
Next question has to do with the suspension. People who like to maybe go on some rougher roads or so forth have asked, are there any standard or optional chassis suspension upgrades that you're able to offer?
We do have the Sumo springs as an option now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm glad you asked, because when I did some videos in the past, I said the Sumo springs would lift the vehicle about an inch, maybe an inch and a half. Well, that's the Sprinter and the ProMaster. We put our first Sumos on after buying all the equipment to install them properly. And I mentioned that to my production. They said, come look at this on the lift. There was still 3/8 of an inch of a gap between a Sumo rear spring from the plate that it bottoms out to, because we ordered the heavy duty suspension, the RV suspension, and everything on these vehicles. So although it would help if you are hauling a trailer that has some weight to it, and if
Right.
you really get a side wind pushing you harder, customers that really load the vehicle down beyond belief, it isn't even touching you. So I have to tell folks now on the Ford, maybe use it for a while just before you decide on the Sumas, because they're not even going to be working most of the time.
Do you do both rear and front Sumos?
We have both available.
Right. The front is just a coil wrap. Right?
Yeah. You have to let the wheel hang
Right.
down, and it goes into the big springs.
Right.
Is how it works. Yes. But yeah, we were very pleasantly surprised that because we ordered such a heavy duty suspension from Ford, it's not even working yet.
This question was just from one viewer, and I'm not quite sure how to interpret it, but the question was, could a buyer opt to eliminate one of the two rear twin beds in favor of additional storage? They mentioned, for example, for a bicycle. So if you had a solo traveler and they felt as though they didn't need the other twin bed, could that somehow be eliminated?
It's actually set up that way already.
Mm-hmm.
There's a cushion on top of the passenger side, but under that cushion is a huge lid that lifts up with storage.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to gain or lose any storage by doing anything different. The driver's side has electronics in it. The rear is the big, huge storage that you access from outside. But the passenger side, underneath of that storage is the 3-zone hydronic heater that runs off the gasoline. In this model, we have a 3-zone one, where in the van it's a single zone. So we have a heating zone in the front with its own heat exchanger, a heating zone in the bedroom with its own heat exchanger, and the fresh water tank is actually its own zone with a thermostat that will keep the fresh water from getting too cold if you're in real cold temperatures.
All right, so someone who had a particular interest in how to maximize that storage on the passenger side, because the driver's side's got the battery and everything, on the passenger side where the bed is, could talk to you at the time they order and see what could be done.
But it's pretty good storage as it sits, and pretty good access. If you wanted to not take a cushion, or just take the cushion and stow it away in your garage, that would be your choice.
I guess when we did our video, I didn't mention, or we didn't mention, and we didn't show in the video how you cook in the Cape Cod, other than the microwave. But you're offering the same portable induction that is offered in the vans, right?
We are. I mean, a good part of the people in our van and in this, and you can attest to that, aren't cooking inside the vehicle. We have this beautiful storage. We are offering an optional slide-out aluminum storage trolley that you can put a grill on and a cooler on, or I have an electric chest cooler. It can go on there and plug in back there, and your food can be right there, your drinks can be right there. So this one has the ability to have an outside kitchen very easily. Right in that storage, it'll slide out to you. I'd much rather be cooking out there.
Yeah, so just to kind of emphasize what Terry just said, we have the portable induction in our Embassy Dolphin, and we use it outside way more than we use it inside. We do use it inside once in a while if the weather is poor, but if the weather's good, we hook that up to an extension cord and we use it outside. We'd much rather have the portable that we have rather than to have something permanently installed in the counter, because then you've lost the counter space and you can't cook outside. So I think that's the better way to go. But you said something just now that I wasn't aware of. So in that large pass-through storage, you're going to have an optional slide-out
We have
thing.
aluminum. We've been doing it on Salvation Army for a long time. And the vehicles we built for them to slide out their big containers of pre-made food, hot and cold.
Mm-hmm.
And those were steel ones because it's on an FR50 that we needed to put weight in because it's a heavy chassis. So we brought aluminum ones in for options for the B+. They're getting ready to put it on this demo for me to take to Lake Tahoe to that event, and I'll be able to show the grill and what I'm going to have set up for that.
And that's in September, yes?
Yes.
So there's an adventure van expo in Lake Tahoe in September. You can find information.
15th, I believe, or 15th and 16th. I may have to look at that, but
if you just Google Adventure Van Expo, you'll find the one in Lake Tahoe. And so if you live in that part of the country, that'd be a great opportunity to see this beautiful rig yourself and meet Terry.
Now I'm going to mention something else for the cooktop not being in the kitchen counter.
Mm-hmm.
You have a big kitchen drawer that I'm sure you like using.
Yep.
When I put the cooktop through the counter, that drawer wasn't there. So by eliminating the cooktop that sat down through the counter 3 or 3.5 inches, I gained a drawer that's 4 inches deep that's huge for all your utensils and things. So there was an advantage to making that portable.
Yep. Let's see. Television. People asked the TV, which we saw in the demo, pulls out of the wall by the sink. Does it swivel in case I'm sitting in the cab chairs? So it does it turn? If rather than we're sitting in the lounge right now, if you pull out the TV and instead I've turned the cab chairs around and I'm facing the back, right. Can I swivel that TV to face
the TV pivots? We built a custom bracket, so not only does it slide out and face the bathroom, it actually pivots and it's on a tilt and it'll face this whole area where everybody can see it quite nicely.
Okay. And of course, there's another TV in the bedroom, right? Right?
It's a 32, yes.
Yeah. I was sure I remember
it's
that.
As big as we could tuck it back there.
Is there a table for the lounge we're sitting in now?
Yes, the table that's in the back works up here. Okay. If somebody wanted to option a second table, that isn't an option that we can do, and you could have the table front and back both if you wanted to.
And that's the standard lagoon table, yes?
One table is standard.
Yeah.
The second table would be an option. Mm-hmm. There's not a whole lot of options yet on this. We've tried to really load it up, but that would be one of them.
The chassis fuel tank size, same as the van?
Yes, it's the extended range. Standard is 26. It's 31 gallon. You get an extra 5 with the extended range tank.
And of course, in the tour, we showed the terrific slide in, slide out toilet that allows you to make the shower space huge when you push the toilet into the wall. You're offering the Lavio and the Separate currently?
Yes, the Haynes Hughes unit has the separate. I believe Linda might have picked that too, the one behind that. But we still probably sell 30, maybe more Lavio dry flushes to a separate tiny. It's we sell some compost hose, but not a lot of them.
So if you're new to Embassy, you may not know that Embassy does not sell any RVs with a black tank. Terry can tell you why, but it has to do with experiences that he had with them and just the notion that it's not. I think I'm right when I say, Terry, it's not if the black tank valve will fail, it's when will it fail.
I still have folks that ask me for a cassette toilet, it tilts 5.1 gallons. When you overflow it, like I said in some of the other videos, I had to go buy a cheap shop vac from Lowe's and suck everything out of it, and then you throw everything away. And I said, well, that's the last time I'll do that. And if your valves fail on a remote tank of a black tank, and it's in there at 95 degrees for a month before it gets back to you, try asking one of your production workers to take that tank off. So I would get under there with the forklift and support the tanks and take our die grinder and cut all the bolts and drop it and throw the whole thing away because I wasn't getting into it either. And that's the last time I did that.
we love our Lavio dry flush, and I know some people get concerned about both the cost of those cartridges and storage. Of course, storage in this vehicle that we're sitting in is not an issue, but there are ways to economize. We managed to make a Lavio cartridge last a full month on the road by economizing how we use it. So it really does not turn out to be very expensive, and we're easily able to store the cartridges, and it's so much more convenient.
I always like to say the only ones that complain about it don't own them yet.
Yeah. Someone asked whether or not when they were interested in possibly using the space. So Roseanne maybe just showed the kitchen counter. The space under that counter, well, under the flip up, one of our viewers was interested in potentially using that space for storage. So they wanted to know whether the sofa that we're sitting on, when it extends as a bed, does it intrude into that space? And I assume it does, yes?
It does. It goes all the way close to the wall within an inch and a half or so, but you can still access the storage that you might use when that sofa is made into a bed from that area right there. And you could still stand up out of the bed and exit the vehicle if you wanted to. There's a landing there.
Next question was about airflow. I guess it didn't come across necessarily in our tour video, but remind us how many fans and air conditioning units are here. What's the airflow situation?
So for the venting fans, we have a max air fan in the ceiling. We have a max air fan in the bathroom. It's a round one that goes out the side of the vehicle. Every one of these windows all throughout the body are dual pane insulated glass awning style windows with screens. So ventilation is incredible in this vehicle. I mean, it's almost 360 if you had the Greg Johnson screens up front with everything else we have going back here. I mean, a wind like we have out there today in 75 degree, we would need the air conditioner if I opened up all these windows right now.
And then the air conditioner is the Dreha, correct?
Yes.
And I don't know even whether or not the people watching this video right now will even be able to hear it with Terry and I mic'd up the way we are, but it's very quiet. It wouldn't surprise me if you're listening to this video that you didn't even realize the air conditioning was on until I just told you. It's wonderfully cool in here and very quiet.
I had somebody send me a message today saying it had a peak of 5,500 watts from the system. It's 1,080 on its peak for a split second. It's about 840 watts running. So we're seeing 70 amps out of the battery and 90 amps on the peak out of the battery for a split second. It's not a big number, but the compressor shuts off quite often, and it's just, that's the biggest thing with this air conditioner is how often does compressor run, and that's truly what batteries care about, and this one's the least amount.
Yeah. And just maybe to emphasize what Terry just said, a lot of people make the mistake when they're trying to figure out how long will an air conditioner run on the battery is they look at how many amps the air conditioner draws while its compressor is on, and they then compare that to the size of the battery, and that's all wrong because your compressor is going to be off just as frequently as it's on.
With efficiencies.
Yeah.
If the vehicle is efficient and insulated well, which this one is insulated super well. Now, granted, we have this temperature turned down right now. I didn't adjust it when we got in, so the compressor's been on. But if I would set the compressor at 74, which would be very comfortable in here with the way this is set up, it'd have shut off already.
All right. Some people wanted to know, why is it named the Cape Cod? Where's that name come from?
We actually had trademarks on Cape Cod, dolphin, marlin, being that we're composites from the yachting, so many things from the yachting industry. You know, I love those names. I think they fit us with the materials and the style of build that we do very, very well.
What are the dimensions of the rear pass-through storage compartment? And what are the dimensions of the doorway to that compartment?
If I sent it to you,
yeah, you did.
Back. I've measured all that. I just don't remember it off the top of my head. So the door opening is 27.5 wide by 24.1 high. In caddy corner, you know, when you put bikes in, you're going to put them in more caddy corners and stand them up inside.
So someone can use Pythagoras.
Interior box is 31.5 wide by 27.25 high, and it's 7'5" from side to side. So it's a good. I was able to, before we put the door on it, I got to test it again. I was able to get a Class 3 electric bike without its front tire into that compartment, and that was a 26-inch. A 24.5. You know, we got customers doing that, and the measurements are saying a 24.5-inch electric bike that doesn't fold will fit in that compartment.
So what Roseanne wants to know, though, is if I'm snoring, could I fit in that compartment?
It is insulated composite. It is heated, not air conditioned, so it depends on how bad that situation is. But with the slide out, you know, it would be kind of interesting. You could be, you know, staring at the stars at night on the slide out.
Someone wanted you to discuss why did you choose to use the Ford chassis?
There's a lot of factors in that. It's GVWR is a big factor. The towing capacity, 15,000, is pretty much unmatched. It can idle for a longer period of time without any issues, which a Sprinter cannot anymore. The ProMaster doesn't have anything in this heavy of a chassis to build on. You can't build this big of a vehicle on a ProMaster. It has to be a smaller setup, and its GVWR doesn't get this large on a ProMaster. So, and with the all-wheel drive platform, you know, it just, and the availability of the chassis, there were so many factors that went into that. But, you know, the number one selling van we build is the Ford Transit on the B van, you know, and there's a reason for that. But we do stock the ProMasters on the B vans, I have to say. We have customers that love them. We had some customers that wanted a Transit and we didn't have any at the time, and they got a ProMaster, and they've all gotten back with me and said, you can tell people I'm a reference. You know, I do. It's a great vehicle, but it isn't a heavy enough chassis to do this.
How many seat belts in this vehicle?
We have the 2 factory belts up front, and then we have 2 belts on the sofa we're sitting on.
And I have a question here about interior headroom. So from the floor, I guess, to the low spot is how high? First,
I believe I'm 6'6¼ underneath that decorative piece in the ceiling. We're 6'9" to the ceiling itself.
Okay, so that's the low point, the decorative piece,
6'6¼
and so
I believe I measured to the decorative.
So I'm somewhere. You know, when I was younger, I was 5'11", so I'm probably more like 5'10" now. So you can see quite a bit of headroom for me. Even if I was 6 foot 6'1", I'd have plenty of room here. So,
as we develop this vehicle, it's surprising that somebody that's 6'6" can't get most RVs, van RVs or B plus RVs. The ceilings are way too low. So we paid attention to that and want to make sure somebody 6'6" could walk through here.
So I think, Terry, that we've run out of the questions that viewers sent. But have there been any developments or changes that we haven't talked about with respect to the Cape Cod since we toured it back in June? Anything you want to talk about?
We do. We have flexible reading lights you see in the production models now. It wasn't ready yet when we built the demo. It will be added to this shortly. There's more things than I can probably mention that we're constantly evolving on. You'll see that the bathroom lower trim underneath the sink is really, really nice, and the production models, so this one will get updated. The demos are always your test unit that you do things to, and then you come back and do other things to it, and that's why you do a demo first. But we're getting storage nets for these little cubbies, and for that storage and the storage above the door there, those just came in. So you see the production models get those in right off the bat, and then we'll evolve this one into that as well. So we're constantly, like I say, improving, and even though this is our first one, the second one is amazing, which is some of the little addition things that we're doing to it that we plan to. It was just getting the parts in here in time to have them put in. So production's rolling along good, and we got all kinds of new things going in that will be standard features for the vehicles.
And so if someone wants to see one, they can obviously come here to Elkhart, or they can meet you out in Lake Tahoe, right?
Yeah.
And if they have questions, who do they call?
Just embassyRV.com, and through you guys, through Amore, and all different avenues of things. You can go through the Facebook group and talk to folks in the Facebook group. Anytime I saw some customers walking by just a minute ago that were trying to pick out colors out here in our storage lot of finished units, and we had another customer in here earlier in this unit, so we always have vehicles here for you to look and see and touch, and kind of walk through and help with some of your choices.
So if you're new to Embassy, what Terry means by the Facebook group is the Embassy Owners and Wannabes Facebook group, which is a terrific group that Roseanne and I belong to, and many, many, many other Embassy owners belong to that group, and we all share information and try to help each other. So if you have a question about the quality of Embassy RVs, that's a good place to start, and we'll make sure you get to the right place.
And it is ran and controlled by owners and created by owners.
That's
Embassy
right.
does not monitor or make comments on that. It is strictly the owners helping each other, and they created it to be a family. There's over 2,000 members, I believe, in it now.
Yeah, it was created by our wonderful administrators, Sherry, Robert, and Bob, who do an amazing job with that group, and we're grateful every day to be part of it. So if you're at all interested in Embassy, make sure you go there, or maybe make it your first stop. Any other Embassy news you want to share with us, Terry? Anything going on with the vans that you want people to know about? Anything at all?
We'll have some new releases very, very soon. You got a sneak peek of those today. I'm probably not going to release them just yet, but we're only a week or two away from releasing some new things on the vans.
All right, so stay tuned, and maybe there'll be news about that in the near future. In the meantime, Terry, it's always great to visit with you. And
great to see you.
If you have additional questions, by all means, you can put them in the comments. But at this point, probably go ahead and shoot your questions over to Embassy through their webpage. But if you post them in the comments, we'll make sure they find their way to Terry, and we'll get you an answer one way or another. So until next time, as always, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And think about subscribing to our channel by clicking on the Amore van icon that just popped up on your screen. We'll see you next time.
See you later.
We hope you found this helpful, and we'll see you next time here on Amore Van.